Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to this class. It's called Eyes to See, Ears to Hear, Group Meditation on Great Paintings. I'm Ken Junkins, and I will be your leader for this about 8-week class. It won't be contiguous 8 weeks. We have a lot of things going on in the church between now and the end of the class. We have a congregational meeting. We'll have Easter thrown in there and all those things too. So, a schedule will be given to you at the end of this class on what we think will be the dates. I'll hand that out later. And also, if we like, maybe towards the end we might end up taking maybe a midweek field trip to the Ringling Museum and look at a piece and talk about it there. So we'll discuss that later in the course. We'll see if there's any interest in that. The study format for this course is roughly imitates what's called Visio Divino, which is meditation with art. It's a spiritual meditation with art. This is a modified version, and the syllabus was developed by a good friend of mine, Reverend Dr. Ron Rosenau. He's taught it successfully several times to groups as big as 80 or 100 people. And so, of course, this is this is interactive. We're hoping that we'll get a conversation here. And with a group of 80 or 100 people, that would extend the class out quite a bit. So with this group here, I'm hopeful that we'll have lots of interaction and be able to meditate together on art. The process of this meditation has made this course very successful, and if we follow this process, we'll encounter art in ways that will enrich your spirit. And for each session, there will be 2 sections. We'll hear a text read and meditate a little bit on that. And we will ponder it. And then we will see one or more paintings, and I'll put them up on the screen. And we'll ponder them. And we'll learn how to approach a painting and examine it in 4 different ways. And this will help the painting become more approachable and understandable to us. So this first week, I changed the slides out. It'd be better just to keep the slides up, I think, because I have I'm quite slide-centric on this. This first week is called This Is Not a Plate. For the text part of the session, I'm going to first read a text to you so that you can hear it. That's the hearing part. It helps us maybe better understand, but then some of us are also visual learners. So after that, I will put the text up on the screen and read it again, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. The first text for this week is Matthew 13, verse 15. For this people's heart has grown dull, and their ears are hard of hearing, and they have shut their eyes, so that they might not look with their eyes, and listen with their ears, and understand with their heart, and turn, and I would heal them. So here's that passage again. For this people's heart has grown dull, and their ears are hard of hearing, and they have shut their eyes, so that they might not look with their eyes, and listen with their ears, and understand with their heart, and turn, and I would heal them. Who in the Bible said this? Who in the Bible said this? Yes, this is Jesus saying this. Who is he saying this to? He was saying it to his disciples, yeah. And does anybody remember this passage and know where in the Bible this is, so they know why he's saying this to his disciples? Well, he is, yeah. But in this part of the Bible, Jesus is telling parables. And his disciples ask him, why do you speak in parables? And he is talking about the Pharisees. He's talking about people who should be listening, but they don't. Some people don't want to hear or understand, because then they would need to repent. And we must open our eyes to see God in the world, and we must open our ears to hear God's message to us. Those who are sincere can and will still hear the message and accept it, but most will not. What I find really interesting about this passage is that he's actually reflecting or quoting a passage in Isaiah. And if you remember from 2 weeks ago, Pastor Karen had talked about Jesus in the temple and reading a scroll, and there also he had read from Isaiah. And in that passage, which was in Luke, in that passage, Jesus said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free." And that particular line catches me every time, and recovery of sight to the blind. Now, we know Jesus did miracles, and he gave a blind person back his sight, but that's a literal interpretation of that passage of Isaiah. There is also a metaphorical passage, which is those of us who don't want to see, don't see. And Jesus is here in the Matthew passage saying that he wants to heal people who don't want to see, don't want to hear the message of God. Jesus is here to heal that. So I like that passage a lot. So there is a process to pondering paintings, and I don't just do that just for the alliteration. In this process, we will look at a painting, and we're going to ask ourselves 4 questions. And we're going to do this throughout the course. These 4 questions are important to think about individually, and then it kind of gels the idea together. And these questions are this: what do you see? What do you feel? What do you wonder about? What do you think? So when we say, what do you see, we're going to be very literal. We don't want to make assumptions. We don't want to leap to what you think you know about the painting. There's a dove, not there's the Holy Spirit, because we don't know the dove is a Holy Spirit. We see a dove. There's a man standing in a river. We wouldn't say there's John the Baptist baptizing people, because we see a man standing in a river. We want to be very literal about what we see when we first approach the painting. Then we'll talk about what do we feel, and we're going to express emotions that the painting evokes. You know, I feel joyful, I feel confused, I feel scared, not I feel this painter doesn't know what the heck he's doing, you know. Then we will ask the question, what do you wonder about? And this is where we can really kind of dive into the painting. Why is there I wonder why there is a dove in this painting. I wonder why this person is wearing blue. Maybe there's some significance. I wonder what's hiding around the corner behind that wall there. And you could also wonder about the physical art itself, not just the subject, like I wonder when this was painted. I wonder what was going on in the artist's life when he or she painted it. So we ask those questions here, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then the fourth question will be, what do you think? And this will be the point at which you kind of put all that together and approach the painting, and we'll talk about what you think about the painting. So let's try that with this first painting. This is a painting by Norman Rockwell. It's called The Connoisseur. It was painted in 1962. I have some a little bit more closer up pictures of it. So this is the top part of the painting. And then we move down a little bit, look at the middle part. Looking at the bottom here. So there's the whole painting again. What do you see? Color. An umbrella. Yep. There's a man standing there. Wearing a suit, a really nice suit. Mm-hmm. Yep. He's got gloves. He's holding a hat. Actually, one of his gloves is off. So as he's holding his hands behind his back, he's wearing one glove. And he's looking at a lot of color. Kind of looks like he's blending into the picture. Yeah. Yeah. Has anybody ever seen a picture like that he's looking at in art? Okay. A modern art painting. Doesn't it look like a real modern art painting? Maybe a Jackson Pollock? Maybe a monkey did it? Yeah, the outside black frame, that's the frame around the painting, but you can see that he's standing on tiles, yeah? So there's a floor there, and then this other thing that's in front of him looks like a painting on a wall, maybe. So maybe he's in an art gallery, yeah. How does this make you feel? Yeah. Yeah. So feeling. Are we feeling curious, or we're feeling sort of blah about it, huh? We don't have a lot of invested emotion in this. Maybe, I don't know. feeling calm. Yeah. He is. So he gives you a sense of calmness by just looking at it. Yeah, yeah. So you feel some humor. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you feel a little humor in the juxtaposition of the gentleman and the modern art, and you're also feeling that maybe there's a little bit of emotion going between him and the art, that he's trying to be calm, but the art is so vibrant and active, right? Yeah, so two clues on that. You know, it is a Norman Rockwell painting. It was painted in '62. He'd been doing a lot of covers for Time magazine or Life magazine. And, you know, he was very illustrative of, you know, of American life, right? And people and things like that. And so as the other thing is that as we look at this, you know, maybe we wonder about what that man is thinking, right? What's his expression on his face? What does he look like, right? Is he? Yeah. Yeah. So. Right. So the title is The Connoisseur. What does connoisseur mean? Yeah. The title is The Connoisseur. Connoisseur, do we know what connoisseur means? It means an expert in a particular field. You know, somebody who's very knowledgeable of a field. And usually it applies to art, but it could apply to anything. Some people are a connoisseur of coffees, right? Pizza, I don't know, whatever. This gentleman is apparently a connoisseur of art. So he's standing in front of a modern art piece and in a really relaxed pose and really sort of examining it closely. And I wonder, you know, what his emotions are. Is he excited? Yes, Kathy? I wonder why he's standing so close. It's a huge painting. Yeah. I would stand up. Yeah, he's really right up close to that, isn't he? Yeah, that's right. And why he's alone, yeah. Yeah. He very well might be because of his clothing, right? Yeah. How about that? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. I wish I had a 10-foot screen here and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So there's an interesting dichotomy going on because there's the state dress, dress of the man, the very stately dress of the man, and the cacophony of the artwork, right? And there's the grayness of his suit and very plain and drab, and just all the splash of color there, you know. So there is an interaction going on between the man and the painting he's looking at. Yeah. Oh, wow. And so Kathy brought up a good point because, I mean, if you approach that particular painting, not the illustration here, but the painting, in a museum, you might look at it from afar first, but if you're a connoisseur of fine art and you're looking at a modern art piece, you might get up close and examine it and say, what the heck is going on here? Yeah, so there's a lot packed into this picture. Oh, I went too fast. But the other question then is, what do you think? And we've expressed a lot of that already. Let me just share that this painting was a commentary by Norman Rockwell on the dichotomy between romantic art, illustrative art, representational art, and the new wave of surreal or abstract art. And Jackson Pollock was a painter of that type, and he put splashes of paint all over a painting. And Norman Rockwell, actually, to paint that painting, went into his studio and laid a canvas down on the floor. And he studied Jackson Pollock a little bit, and then he threw paint on the ground to try to make it. And he did that several times in his studio, and then he picked one that he used in the illustration, and then he drew the man examining it. But a really interesting thing that I think comes out of that is that he submitted a section of the sample painting to an exhibition in the Cooperstown Art Association in New York, signing the canvas with an Italian signature, and it took first prize. This abstract painting, just what he was doing. So great. Okay, this is the second painting that we want to look at here. This painting was done by René Magritte, a Dutch painter. The painting is called The Treachery of Images. It was painted in 1929. It's a style of painting called surrealism. We'll talk a little bit about that. But what do we see? A pipe. A what? A crooked-stemmed pipe. A smoking pipe. What's that say on the bottom there? Does anybody speak French? What? This is not a pipe. Right. This is not a pipe. So, what do we feel about this image? Don says that the title, This Is Not a Pipe, is the wrong title. So, in other words, you think, or you feel, that there's some confusion here going on, maybe. Okay, I'm sorry. Two people at once. Oh, yeah. It is. Some people do that, yeah. And yeah. For me, disassociated with the words on the bottom, I have a feeling of nostalgia because my grandfather smoked a pipe, and when I see something like this, I can smell the half and half. When I was little, he would sit there and smoke it and stuff. So I have a feeling of nostalgia with this. But yes, there is some confusion. So, what do we wonder about with this picture? Why did René Magritte say this is not a pipe? Is it a pipe if it doesn't smoke? That's a good question. But is that a pipe? Well, Can you put tobacco in that pipe? You couldn't put tobacco in it, and you couldn't smoke it, because this is a painting of a pipe. This is a piece of art that is a painting of a pipe with a title underneath it that says, "This is not a pipe." So Rene Magritte was criticized for doing this piece of artwork. People were like, "Why would you say this is not a pipe?" He said, quote, he said, "That the famous pipe, how people reproached me for it. And yet, could you stuff my pipe? No, it's just a representation, is it not? So if I had written on my picture, 'This is a pipe,' I'd have been lying." Right? Right. This painting helps to show us the fact that paintings are not the thing. The thing is the thing. The pipe, a real pipe is a thing, is a real thing. The painting of the pipe is not the pipe, right? So the real title of this painting was often called "This is not a pipe," but the real title of this is "The Treachery of Images." Magritte called it "The Treachery of Images." So why do you think he called it that?
Because he gets so caught up in trying to define, to say, "No, that is a pipe. That is a pipe. It says it's not a pipe, but it is a pipe." And so you get caught up in the argument, I guess, of why did he put this is not a pipe, it's a pipe.
Right.
And it really isn't a pipe the way you described it.
Right.
It's a picture of a pipe.
His painting style of surrealism came after the Romantic era, where they were painting realistic scenes, and trying to get as much realism in a painting as possible. And people venerated the art and all. And yes, so he highlights the gap between language and meaning. And he did this a couple of times on different pieces of art. But he would try to say that there's treachery in in putting an image on paper and then believing that image is factual or is the thing. It's not the thing. He used the word treachery. We might have used the word deception. Maybe the concept that we regularly need to tell ourselves. He wanted to impress that there's a concept we regularly need to tell ourselves lies of the varying magnitude to make sense of the world around us.
And what was going on? Maybe he used the word treachery because what was going on at that time when he painted it?
Yeah.
Was there something in society that was happening that he wanted to...
29, he was, yeah. He was Dutch in Europe, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is he saying that you have to witness with your own eyes, or you have to, because you cannot trust images?
He is saying that you cannot trust images, right? That images can be deceitful, can show you things that may not be true.
Can they do this the opposite?
Possibly.
They are deceitful. Can they be truthful?
Yeah.
We have images not as
Right.
real life.
Right. Yeah, as images. Correct. Correct. I don't think so. I think so. Marguerite was an illustrator and also worked in the advertising industry for a while. And when he got involved in the Surrealist movement, Surrealists used images to deceive, and to change people's perception about things. And he was being critical in pieces like this, not necessarily to delve into whether the pipe is a well-made pipe or anything like that, or the structure of the pipe, but he wanted to explore, the connection between words and images. And when we say something like, we looked at the painting of the gentleman in dress and stuff like that, we made some assumptions about the way he was dressed. So Marguerite here is saying that we need to look at things and be not necessarily influenced or driven in a certain direction. We need to think about the artwork and ponder it a little bit more. So, what do you think? Do you think that René Magritte made an interesting statement here?
I think it's a beautiful representation of life.
He
We changed the title to A Picture of a Pipe.
could be a little bit more specific, right? Like that, yeah. Yeah, Kathy?
I was, at the beginning when you first showed it, I could care less about this picture at all, and now I'm invested in it. Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What was my first reaction to like first getting my dad's photo pipe? It wasn't that curved.
Yeah,
Shape
it's very straight, yeah.
brought back memories of the fragrance.
Yeah. So that's true. Part of what this class is hopefully going to bring out in all of us is an appreciation. If you saw this in a museum, you might walk right by it because, hey, it's a pipe, or it's not a pipe, or whatever. But what are we looking at? What do we see? What do we feel? What emotions do we bring up? What do we wonder about the painting? And then what do we think? Right? So we want to take time to see, just like we want to take time to listen on text. We want to take time to ponder the painting. So let's see how I'm doing here. Okay. This next painting is by George Stubbs. Painted it in 1762. It's very large. It's very large. That horse is life-size in that painting. It's it's 115 inches high, which is like 7-8 feet high, something like that. 9 feet high, I guess. It's called Whistle Jacket. So I know it's hard to see, and it's really big, so I have some other images. This is a little movie that shows some of the details. A little bit closer, yeah. While this is going, what do we see? I'm sorry, say it again. Power. You see power? You feel, okay. So let's save that answer for the next section. What do you see?
Looks like he's scared.
Okay. Let's be real literal here. What do you see?
I see a picture of a horse.
Okay. We're being more careful. And I'll say that, yes, thank you, Bruce, for that. we now understand that we're looking at pictures, okay? We're going to not have to clarify that anymore. This is not a horse, right? We could say that. But yes, we do understand that, so.
Contrast the tail with the rest of the body.
And the white blaze on his forehead, or her forehead. It looks like hair. It looks like human hair on the mane.
Uh-huh. So we see a horse. We see a horse with a white mark on its forehead and flowing mane. Oh, his ears did? Yeah, I can't back up. We'll try to go back. His feet. There are horseshoes on there. He is shoed. He's got a very distinctive white band around his feet. So I think I have another. Oh, there's this flank. And I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the veins in his legs, the muscles and the veins. Yep. Stubbs studied the anatomy of horses very much. All right, there's the whole picture again. So it's a horse. We see a horse. We see a horse, a specific horse with specific markings on it, rearing up. I forget the name of that stance in equestrian work, but maybe this is an opportunity to ask, what do we not see? Yeah. No background at all. No hay, no outdoors, no landscape around it, nothing, right? No saddle. No rider. He's free. Yeah. So, we'll come back to that in a minute. What do we feel about this? Peggy. Power. You feel the power. Okay. So somebody feels happy. Somebody feels fear. Mm. Well groomed. Yep. Feel a little bit of motion, right? It's not static. He's reared up on his legs. And I find it interesting that, so this is the actual boundaries of the painting. I find it interesting that he is all the way over, as far as he could be, to the left side of the painting, and there's room for him to move this way. So I feel that there is motion and potential there, potential to be moving forward. Mm-hmm. The mane's flowing, yeah.
And my eye is being drawn down to his back foot that is so white.
So white, yeah.
But my eye keeps getting drawn down to that.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So this is a specific horse. The horse's name is Whistle Jacket. The horse was owned by the Marquis of Rockingham. It's a race horse. Okay, so if we're going to start wondering about some things, wonder if this is a real horse. Yes, it's a real horse. And what else do we wonder about it? Did he win? That's a good question. What, Don? How did he stand on his back legs so long so that Stubbs could paint him? That's a good question. Bert saw that? Yeah. Yeah. It's a good representation, yeah. Yes?
What is the horse reacting to?
That's a good question. Why is the horse in motion like that, standing on its hind legs? Yeah.
Wondering how he could do that without the help of a photograph.
Yeah. 1762, no cameras. Yeah. 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 This is, yeah, the way his head is turned and looking. This is an unnatural position for a horse. A horse wouldn't actually be the. So in equestrian sports, a rider would be on the horse when it lifted up like that. I can't remember the name of it, but the horse would be looking straight ahead. This is a pose that often was used to depict kings and royalty on their mounts, and so I wonder why Stubbs painted the horse without the Marquis riding the horse, or at the time I think there was a king about to be crowned, and so there's speculation that he painted the horse and that the rider would be painted later, the king would be painted on the horse later. Never happened, and in fact Stubbs did paint horses without any riders on them. It was kind of unusual, but it was not the only. This is not the only time he's done that. So, he painted Whistlejacket, and he had a really good eye for accuracy. He didn't need the horse to pose like this, because what Stubbs did often was he went and he dissected deceased horses and studied them inside. He studied the musculature and the bones and whatnot. He knew horses inside and out, if I may use that pun. Sorry, but that's why he's so accurate on the physicality of this. That and this is it, right now in the National Gallery in Washington, and it's a very important piece apparently. On the paper I hand out to you at the end, I do have a link to a really nice talk about this piece. And it's also unusual, like Kathy said, that it's painted in space without any kind of background or landscape around it. So that draws your attention to the importance of the horse. It has no rider, it has no background. The painting is about the horse. I wonder why that horse is called Whistlejacket. That was what I wondered about. So I looked it up. And it turns out that a contemporary cold remedy of the time was called Whistlejacket, made from gin and treacle. Treacle being a syrup made of sugar. So I liked the fact that the horse's name was Whistlejacket. What do you think of this piece? It is lovely. Yeah. Yeah. All right. You want me to do one more? Okay, we got time for one more. One more. This is a particular favorite of mine. This is Pablo Picasso. The piece is called Guernica. It was painted in 1937. This is really large. This is 11 and a half feet high, 25 feet wide. Guernica. We'll talk a little bit more about why that's called that. What do you see? There's a lot to see in this. No color. Black and white. Very good. Animals. Yep. There's a bull, a horse. Yep. Dead people. Yes. Yes. The mother holding her dead child, screaming in agony. Yes. The soldier on the bottom, dismembered, his head's cut off, his arms cut off. Yep. The horse is even screaming in agony, right? This woman's on fire here. Yeah. I think I have some close-ups here, so let's see how I did this. A light bulb in the shape of an eye or a sun, yeah. Sort of looking over the whole thing. There's the mother with the child screaming in agony. This is the soldier, dismembered. You know he's a soldier because, well, okay, that's an assumption, sorry. You see that he's holding a sword, a broken sword, yeah? There's the broken sword. And look what else is in the hand in addition to the sword. There's a flower. A flower, yeah? This becomes a very important peace symbol in the 60s. This image is used a lot. Okay, I'll come back to that in a minute. Yeah, I'll look for that. Look at the tongues of the bull, the woman screaming, and the horse. They're pointed. Yeah. That gives us feeling, and we'll talk about that in a little bit later. This is very dimly seen in the background. Now, I'm gonna jump past the what do we see, just to give you a little bit of context. Critics have said that this is a dove, even though it's hard to tell because it's cubist, right? Yeah. Yeah. That is drawn on the wall inside this place that is there. What does that look like to you? Looks like smoke or fire, yeah. Very intentionally looking like that, but it turns out that's the tail of the bull. We'll see in a minute. What does that look like? Skull? That's the nose of the, yeah, that's the nose of the horse, yeah. So here's the tail that looks like smoke. There's the nose that looks like a skull. What was the face that you saw that was different? The one screaming that's on fire? The one coming in the window with the lamp? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah. What do you feel? Confusion, destruction, hopelessness, chaos. What was that? Agony, right? Yeah, there's a lot going on here. So there's a lot of action, a lot of movement. What do you wonder about? What kind of drugs? Yeah, surrealistic painting and cubism, all because when we move away from realism, we kind of wonder what the artist was thinking or doing, or how he was seeing, he or she, I should say, was seeing the world, you know? Were they seeing the world just to look differently than we see it, or were they actually on drugs or had an altered sense? The light bulbs thing, yeah.
Because then to the right of it, like where the rays come out,
Yeah.
it almost looks like an arm coming in holding a candle with a
Yeah.
flame.
So this woman,
Also, of course, is head.
yeah, the woman coming in here, the woman coming in the window here has a long arm with a candle that's holding it right by the.
The light bulb, why does she need the candle?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wonder why? Maybe hope.
And that tail looks like fire. That's another source of light.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So this painting is called Guernica. It was painted for the Spanish exhibit at the 1937 Paris World's Fair. Spain had asked their most famous artist of the time, who was Pablo Picasso, would you please paint a mural for our World's Fair exhibit? And there was the Spanish Civil War going on right then, and there was a lot of fighting that was going on, and a lot of interplay between the fascists, the Franco-fascists, and the Spanish, and things like that. And at one point, the Spanish fascists had asked the German Nazis to bomb part of their country as a statement, and they bombed this town of Guernica. Guernica is the town. And a lot of women and children died in that. So that's why we see mostly what's in here are women or innocent animals or children. There's one man, and he happens to be a soldier because he's holding a sword, right? Who's dead there? So that, to make a strong statement, as Kathy pointed out, this is painted monochromatic. It's black and white. Picasso used house paints that he had mixed up and stuff. When Picasso, after the World's Fair, Picasso wanted this exhibited at the Met in New York until Spain had become a democracy. So through the extent of the Spanish Civil War, he did not want this to actually end up in Spain. It's now in Madrid in a museum. I saw it in New York. I stood in front of it. It's an amazing painting to stand in front of. The emotions that you get out of looking at this is just incredible. So the question is, where is this painting as a thing? I just told you. It's in a museum in Madrid. Where is this painting as an event? The painting itself, the physical painting was in the World's Fair, yeah, but the painting itself, the event that's going on that we're seeing in the painting, the image is the bombing of Guernica, right? Guernica, Spain, yeah. So a painting can be a thing. A painting is a painting of a thing, but it can also be a thing in itself, right? So the painting itself is in Madrid, but the thing it's a painting of is an event. So a painting can depict an event, and or in the case of the first painting that we saw, the Connoisseur, where the gentleman is standing in front, he's seeing something, he's looking at something. That's an event too. So a painting can depict an event or a thing, right? So what do we think about this painting? Yeah. Sad. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Say again, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, we can take a lesson from that, right? And even though we might not be able to appreciate and approach Cubism quite yet, we might think the artist was on drugs. We can appreciate what the painting is about and what Picasso was trying to say. His disgust with his own country at having this civil war and killing some of his own people, right? So I just want to summarize. And do I have another picture after this? Oh, yeah, we do. There's what we looked at here. So I want to summarize today's session because the lessons from today are lessons that we're going to take with us through the rest of this journey as we look at other paintings. We want to realize that art is not the thing that is being represented in the art. Only the thing is the thing. We heard Rene Magritte's quote, about the pipe. That, could you stuff it? No, it's just a representation. If I had written this is a pipe, I'd have been lying, right? So what we see and how we describe it could be two different things. In other words, art has its limits. Art cannot circumscribe the essence of a thing, nor can it capture the soul or freeze a moment of the thing, right? The thing is always bigger than the art. The event of Guernica is bigger than that piece of art, even though that piece of art is huge, right? The thought about the relationship between words and images is bigger than that painting, right? But art is a thing as well. Art too is a thing. And once we see art as just another thing, we can be freed from false promises associated with it and from the temptation to idolatry. And that's an important lesson to learn. Look at, the Marquis who had that painting painted loved his horse so much that he had this painting painted and hung it in his grand hall. I think he kind of idolized, the horse and the image of it. So once freed, we can approach art simply, even naively, and find in the encounter an experience that can enrich our spiritual lives. So we will, in a couple weeks, I'll hand out the schedule, but in a couple weeks we'll come back together, we'll look at some more art, and we'll remember these lessons of art is not the thing. And this is how we're going to approach it in this class. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you wonder about? What do you think? And we'll grow together from there. Thank you all for coming.